If you've made it to this part of the story, thank you for joining us on Ava and Logan's unforgettable journey. We'd love to know, where in the world are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss tomorrow's special episode. Another twist, another heartbeat, and maybe another secret revealed. Turn on the notification bell so you're first to know when the next chapter begins. See you in the next story. Ava had always dreamed of living her life on her own terms. At 27, she was independent, passionate, and full of ambition. She lived in a beautiful 4,800 square foot home in San Diego with her mother, Mrs. Parker, a powerful businesswoman who believed that every decision should be strategic, including marriage. To Ava, love meant freedom, connection, and choice. But to Mrs. Parker, it was an opportunity, a business deal waiting to be sealed. "You're not getting any younger," her mother often reminded her, adjusting her pearl necklace as she flipped through financial reports. "It's time you stop chasing silly dreams and start thinking about the legacy of our family." Ava would simply nod, hiding the storm that brewed inside her. Her mother's words weren't just advice, they were commands. And the latest command? Ava had to marry Liam Bennett. Liam was the son of Mrs. Parker's longtime friend and business partner, Mrs. Bennett. The two women had known each other for over 30 years, and now they wanted to seal their bond permanently, through marriage. Ava had never even met Liam. She had only seen a few pictures of him, tall, successful, always, dressed in designer suits. To others he might have looked like a dream, but to Ava he was a stranger she was expected to marry without even a conversation. "I don't love him," Ava told her mother one evening, trying to stay calm. "You can't force me into this." Mrs. Parker didn't flinch. "Love comes after responsibility," she replied coldly. "This marriage is bigger than you. It will secure our future. The Parkers and the Bennetts together, that's power." Ava's chest tightened. She looked around their lavish home, the marble floors, the chandeliers, the grand piano no one played. Everything looked perfect, but it felt like a cage. She wanted to shout, she wanted to run, but what could she do? The wedding was already being discussed. Venues were being scouted in Napa Valley. Designers were being contacted for fittings. Her mother had even begun writing the guest list. There was no space for her voice. No one asked what Ava wanted, only what she would wear, how she should smile, and when she would say, "I do." The thought of walking down the aisle toward a man she didn't love and maybe didn't even like made her sick to her stomach. But every time she protested, her mother reminded her, "This is for the family." So Ava did what she had always done, stayed silent, smiled politely, and followed the plan. But deep down, something was beginning to change. She was tired of being a pawn in someone else's game. She wanted to live, to choose, to be free, and she was just a heartbeat away from doing something no one would expect. That night, Ava stared at the ceiling of her bedroom, her mother's words echoing like a ticking clock in her head. "This marriage is bigger than you." She rolled over, squeezed her eyes shut, but sleep refused to come. Her heart raced with frustration. Her chest felt heavy, like she couldn't breathe under the weight of a future she didn't want. Enough was enough. At 11:43 p.m., Ava slipped out of bed, threw on a leather jacket over her oversized tee, and quietly stepped out of the house. The air outside was cool, brushing against her skin like freedom. She grabbed her keys, slid into her car, and took off. No destination in mind, just away. She drove aimlessly for miles, the city lights of downtown San Diego guiding her like stars. After about 10 miles, she parked near a rooftop bar she had never noticed before. Music drifted down to the street, and not too loud, not too wild, just enough to numb the chaos in her mind. As she stepped inside, the warm glow of amber lights and soft jazz welcomed her. For the first time in weeks, she felt invisible, and it was liberating. She sat at the bar and looked at the bartender. "Give me your best wine," she said, even though she had no idea what that meant. She had never even tasted alcohol before. Her mother didn't allow it, said it would dull her beauty and ruin her value as a bride. The bartender poured her a glass, and just as she raised it to her lips, a voice interrupted her. "Hi, gorgeous?" She turned and froze. Standing beside her was a man, tall, broad-shouldered, dressed casually in a plain black tee and jeans. His smile was easy, confident, but not arrogant. His voice was warm, and there was something in his eyes. "Something kind you knew here?" he asked. "Yeah," she said slowly, "just trying to enjoy the night." They talked. They laughed. Time slipped through her fingers like sand. He introduced himself. Logan. No last name, no expectations. Just Logan. As the wine warmed her veins, Ava began to feel something she hadn't felt in years. Control. Here she wasn't Mrs. Parker's daughter. She wasn't Liam's fiancée. She was just a woman, making her own choices. And tonight she made one. "I don't want to go home," she whispered, barely able to meet Logan's eyes. "Take me somewhere else. Anywhere but home." He hesitated, concerned. "Are you okay?" "No," she admitted. "But I will be, if you help me." With one nod, Logan drove her to his place, a clean, quiet condo on the edge of the city. He offered her a bed. Nothing more, no pressure. But Ava wasn't looking for sleep. "I want you to take my freedom from me," she said, standing before him. "Take what my mother values most, my innocence, so she can't use it to control me anymore." Logan stared at her, shocked. And in that moment, everything changed, because the man she chose for one night wasn't just any stranger. The morning after, Ava woke up to the sound of birds chirping outside the window. Sunlight poured gently into the room, warming the soft white sheets she lay on. She blinked, slowly sitting up, disoriented. And then it all came rushing back. The wine. The bar. Logan. But the strangest part, he wasn't there. On the nightstand beside her, a small note was neatly folded. "I didn't want to wake you. Sleep well. Logan." No phone number, no expectations, just a kind goodbye. Ava exhaled, not sure if she felt relieved or disappointed. But one thing was clear. Last night she made a choice. For once it was hers alone. Later that day she returned home. Her mother was furious, of course, shouting, demanding answers, but Ava didn't flinch. She had crossed a line she could never uncross, and oddly enough, it gave her strength. For a while things went quiet, no talk about weddings, no updates from the Bennett family, until one morning everything snapped back into motion. Mrs. Parker barged into Ava's room, holding her phone with an unreadable expression. "Change of plans," she said flatly. "Liam is already married." Ava's eyes widened. "Wait, what?" "Apparently he got his ex-girlfriend pregnant. They had a quick ceremony, but don't think for a second this changes anything." Ava blinked in confusion. "So, I'm free?" Her mother chuckled coldly. "You wish. You're still marrying into the Bennett family. It's been arranged. You're marrying Liam's twin brother, Logan." Time froze. Ava's heart stopped. What did you say?" "Logan Bennett," her mother repeated. "Your fiancé. He's coming by next week. Make yourself presentable." Ava's stomach dropped. The room spun around her. It couldn't be. Not that Logan. Not the man from the bar. Not the one who held her when she was falling apart. She barely heard the rest of her mother's words. Something about invitations, guest lists, flowers. All she could hear was the pounding in her chest. All she could see was his face. And 1 week later, it was confirmed. Standing in the grand hallway of the Bennett estate, Ava's world tilted as the tall figure turned to face her. Same eyes, same voice, same man. Logan stood there, just as stunned, mouth slightly open. "You? You're the girl from the bar," he whispered, barely loud enough to hear. "And she wanted to vanish." Mrs. Bennett, blissfully unaware, smiled between them. "Well, I see you two have met. Isn't that perfect?" No one answered. The weight of what had happened between them, the intimacy, the vulnerability, the truth, now hung like a secret in a room full of expectations. Ava wanted to scream. She had chosen Logan that night as a rebellion. But now fate had chosen him back, and this time there was no running away. From that day forward, Ava and Logan lived under the same roof, as a couple in name only. Their parents were thrilled. The wedding was small but extravagant, held at a cliffside estate in Malibu. The view was breathtaking. The vows, hollow. Neither of them spoke about that night at the bar. Neither acknowledged the truth that lingered between their eyes every time they met. Logan kept his distance, polite, respectful, distant. He didn't touch her. He didn't even sleep in the same bed. Instead, he stayed in the guest room. Claiming work kept him up late. To everyone else, they looked like the perfect newlyweds, but inside their massive 6-bedroom home, the silence was deafening. Ava spent her nights pacing, wondering what he was thinking. Was he ashamed of her? Regretful? Did he wish she was someone else, or worse, was he still in love with someone else? She had heard rumors, whispers from staff, hints from Mrs. Bennett. Logan once had a serious relationship, a girl named Chloe. And when Ava looked into his eyes, she wondered if Chloe still lived there, tucked away behind every forced smile and unfinished sentence. One night, Ava finally broke. She stood in the hallway outside his guest room door. Her robe clung tightly around her waist, her heart racing. She knocked once, then again. The door opened. Logan stood there, shirtless, book in hand, eyes tired, but kind. "Ava," he said softly, surprised. "Are you okay?" She hesitated. I just wanted to talk." He stepped aside and let her in. They sat at the edge of the bed, silence hanging heavy between them. "Why are you avoiding me?" she asked suddenly. "Was it because of that night?" Logan closed his book, slowly exhaling. "It's not that I'm avoiding you, I just don't want to make things harder." "Harder for who?" she pushed. "For you? For me? Or maybe for your ex?" He looked at her sharply. "That's not fair." "What isn't fair," she said, voice shaking, "is being your wife and feeling like a ghost in my own home." Logan stood up, pacing. "You think this is easy for me? I didn't plan any of this, Ava. I didn't expect you that night." "I didn't expect you now? Then why marry me?" "Because I thought maybe, just maybe, we could figure it out." She rose to her feet, facing him. "Then stop shutting me out." He stared at her for a long time. Then quietly he said, "I never touched you again because if I do, I won't be able to stop. I'm trying to respect you, trying to give you time, because you deserve more than a husband who's still trying to figure out how to love again." Ava's breath caught in her throat. For the first time, he wasn't cold, he wasn't distant. He was raw, honest, real, and for the first time, she wasn't afraid to want him back. Days turned into weeks, and little by little, the ice between Ava and Logan began to melt. They started eating breakfast at the same table, talking about work, sharing glances that lasted a second too long. Sometimes Logan would brush her hand. When passing the Salter, neither of them would pull away, but something always held them back. The ghosts of their pasts, the weight of what they weren't saying, until one evening everything changed. Ava stood in front of the mirror, staring at herself. Her nightgown hugged her curves, soft silk against her skin. Her heart raced. She wasn't just nervous, she was terrified. Tonight, she wanted to be seen. Not just as a woman, but as a wife. She stepped out of the room, padding barefoot down the hall toward Logan's door. But as she raised her hand to knock, it opened. He was already there, standing in the doorway, eyes locked on hers like he had been waiting all night. "You look beautiful," he said softly. She bit her lip, looking away. "I didn't come here just to stand in the hallway." Logan stepped aside, letting her in. The room was quiet, dimly lit, warm. She sat on the edge of the bed, fingers nervously gripping the hem of her gown. "Logan," she whispered, "do you even want this marriage?" He knelt in front of her, eyes level with hers. "I didn't want an arranged marriage," he said, "but I wanted you long before I knew your name." She blinked. "You've been living in my head since that night," he continued. "And the truth is, I didn't touch you again because I wanted our next moment to mean something. I wanted it to be real." Tears welled in her eyes. "So what now?" Logan leaned closer. "Now, I want to love you, if you'll let me." Ava smiled through her tears. I want to love you too. And just like that, the space between them disappeared. Their lips met, slow, hungry, electric. Every touch was a promise, every breath a confession. This time, there was no running, no shame, no confusion, only clarity. That night wasn't about passion. It was about surrender. Two hearts finally giving in, not because they were forced, but because they chose each other. And a few weeks later, Ava stood in the bathroom, staring at two pink lines on a pregnancy test. Her hands trembled. She was pregnant. When she finally told Logan, he didn't speak. He just stared, stunned, eyes wide. Then he laughed, a real unfiltered laugh full of joy. He lifted her off the floor, spinning her around the room. We're having a baby, he whispered. I'm going to be a dad. And for the first time in her life, Ava felt whole. Not because her mother's plan worked, not because of a family name, but because love had found its way in, quietly, unexpectedly, and finally made everything feel right. Thank you for staying with Ava and Logan until the very end of this emotional journey. We know this story took unexpected turns, from rebellion to realization, to a love that wasn't planned but grew stronger than either of them expected. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What part of their story touched your heart the most? Did you relate to Ava's fight for freedom, or Logan's quiet battle with his own emotions? Do you believe a one-night stand can turn into true love? Drop your thoughts, reactions, or even your favorite quote in the comments below. We read each one, and your voice helps bring these stories to life. Also, let us know where you're watching from. It warms our hearts to see how far our stories travel. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, because tomorrow, a brand new story begins. And trust us, it's one you won't want to miss. Let's talk in the comments.